Today we are continuing on our guided practice with Pythagorean theorem. So again, across from the right angle is C, and x squared plus 11 squared equals 61 squared. X squared equals, or x squared plus 121 equals 3,721. Subtracting that 121 from both sides, and x squared equals 3,600. And then after we get x squared, we need to do the opposite of squaring. So we're going to take the square root. So we have x equaling 60. Again, on number 2, Pythagorean theorem, across from our right angle is our hypotenuse, it's C. So we set this up, x squared plus 24 squared equals 51 squared. And then we have x squared plus 24 squared, which is 576, equaling 51 squared, which is 2,601. Subtracting 576 from both sides. And then we get 2,025. And we take the square root of both sides. And x equals 45. Our next one, doing the same thing, we want to find x using Pythagorean theorem. So across from our right angle is our hypotenuse. And we have 8 squared plus x squared equaling 16 squared. And 8 squared is 64 plus x squared equals 256. Subtracting 64 from both sides. And we get x squared equaling 192. And then we need to take the square root of both sides. Now I'm not going to put this in the calculator because it says simplify the radical. So I need to take and find my factors, one that is a perfect square. So when I divide 192 by 2, I get 965. It's not a perfect square. Or I get 96, sorry. And when I divide 192 by 3, I get 64. 64 is a perfect square. So we have 3 and 64. And remember that 64 breaks down to 8 and 8. So we'd have 8 times the square root of 3 for our value of x. Our next one, we want to find the value of the variables round to the nearest hundredth. So we want to find the value of both x and y. Always start in the triangle that has the most information. In this case, that is the triangle that has y. So we're going to take, across from our right angle is 7, so that's our hypotenuse. So we'd have y squared plus 2 squared equaling 7 squared. Y squared plus 2 squared, which is 4, equals 7 squared, which is 49. Subtract 4 from both sides. And we get y squared equaling 45. Take the square root of both sides. And we get y equaling 6.7 when we round to the 10th place. Now notice I'm not going to stick that 6.7 back in to this problem. I'm going to stick the square root of 45 back in because the square root of 45 is inexact and 6.7 is rounded. So now to find x, our hypotenuse is that square root of 45. So we're going to take 5 squared plus x squared equals the square root of 45 squared. And 5 squared is 25 plus x squared equals the square root of 45 squared. Remember that the square root and squaring are opposites. They cancel each other out. So we have 45. And then we're going to subtract 25 from both sides. And x squared equals 20. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And we get 4.47 or 4.45 when we round to the nearest tenths place. On number 5, again, we want to find the value of our variables. And we have more information, again, in the triangle that has y. So we're going to start by solving for y. And across from our right angle, because on both sides there's a right angle because it's perpendicular, is 13. So that's our hypotenuse. So we've got 5 squared plus y squared equaling 13 squared. 5 squared is 25 plus y squared equals 169. Subtract 25 from both sides. And we get y squared equaling 144. And then we're going to take the square root of that. And y equals 12. So we have y equaling 12. Now, x is only from here to here. It is not in a right triangle. So I'm going to find this length first. And I'm going to label it z. So I'm going to take z squared plus 12 squared equaling 20 squared, because the triangle that we're in is this one. So we have z squared plus 144 equaling 400, subtracting 144 from both sides, and z squared equals 256, square rooting both sides, and z equals 16. So notice that z is 16, and we have an isosceles triangle here, and that means that this length is 5. So we're going to subtract that 5 from 16 to get x, and that equals 11.